welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Public Works Podcast. My name is Joseph Blackman, and today I got a real treat for you. His name is BJ Statler, and he is the president of Source Technologies L.L.C. BJ, say what's up to everybody.
Hey, thank you. Good to be here.
Sure, man, for sure. So, BJ, you're the president at Source Technologies L.L.C. You're out here in sunny Arizona. It's not too hot yet, but things are heating up for you inside your company and your business. What you got going on? But let's hit the rewind button a little bit. Let's talk about what the impetus was to start Source Technologies, kind of how you got your start into it. Then we'll dive into a little bit more.
Well, I got into this about 4 years ago with Source Technologies. I've been in the corporate world for several years in multiple different industries. I had a friend that was kind of conned me into it, coming and helping out a company, and I wanted to see if everything that I had learned in the corporate world could translate in growing a small business into a bigger business. So it's been a lot of fun and some headaches along the way, but I don't regret any time over the last 4 years. So that's how I got into this position or with the company.
Sure. So 4 years, but you're about twice as far as I am. Kind of the same thing, was in the industry, in the corporate world. I'm like, man, there's got to be a better way, man. Like this got to be, there's got to be a different way to skin this cat. So here we are. So talk about what problem Source Technology solves. Like when you get an inbound lead or when the phone or something crosses your desk, what are people mostly asking about in regards to Source Technologies?
Well, Source Technologies, in a very simple form, we remove sulfide from wastewater and air. So basically, it's the H2S or hydrogen sulfide challenges. It's that rotten egg smell. And as soon as I say rotten egg, generally everybody knows. But in terms of someone calling us or whatnot, it's usually from an odor complaint, president of HOA, their boss, and hey, BJ, we need this to go away. What we're doing right now is not working. So that's usually where how it comes across my desk or email.
Okay. And it's interesting because my wife and I were on a walk with our kids a couple of days ago, and I having been in and around sewers, I kind of know that smell. And my wife was like, "Did you fart?" And normally I'm like, normally I say no, and she knows what I mean. No, I mean yeah. But this time I'm like, no, I actually didn't. I'm like, that's the sewer. She's like, no way. I'm like, she's like, what? I'm like, yeah, that's actually the sewer. You smell that? Like, go stand over there, but guarantee you smell it when you walk past it. And yeah, so what I was explaining to her was pretty much what you're solving. So answer this for me, like what your path out of high school. Let's start there. So did you know you're going to be in this industry? Did it kind of fall upon you? Like, what was your career path to where you're at today?
It fell upon me. I had no idea. I thought I was going to go to medical school when I came out of high school, and ended up taking a turn and went into landscape architecture in my previous life. And in 2008, whenever the market was doing so fantastic, I decided to switch industries and got into the mining industry. My family is huge in mining, the coal mines and whatnot. I'm originally from the East Coast. So that mining led to water opportunities, and water opportunities left to this opportunity here with Source. And prior to coming to Source, I didn't know other than a rotten egg smell. Had no idea about wastewater. I knew there was a sewer system, and I think Stephen King has the book. There's a clown that lives down in the sewer system. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? So that was probably my extent of my knowledge of what was going on. So it's been a real education, some good and some I can't, say on this podcast, from the wastewater treatment operators and the collection people. So, but overall, it's been fantastic, and it's been a lot of fun.
Gotcha. Good stuff. So let's say a youngster out there, not even a youngster, anybody, they're in their car right now. They work sales in our industry, and they're like, man, what can I do to do it on their own or skin the cat by themselves? What would be one skill set you would tell them to pick up to be successful at what you're doing today?
I think you have to have interpersonal skills, regardless of what you're doing, right? You have to work well with others and be, effective in doing so, building relationships. Certainly the technical knowledge will come, regardless of what industry you're in. Um, Adaptability, right? Everything that I back in my career has led me to where I'm at today, from landscaping to mining to water to pool water. So I think you have to be flexible and don't get discouraged if you're thrown off course, right? You think you know what you're doing. And I tell people all the time, this is what I think I'm doing this week. Here's the meetings. It's the stuff I don't know about that surprises me or maybe concerns me. But I think adaptability, the interpersonal skills, building relationships with colleagues, as well as outside is very key. And I think you can be successful if you acquire these skill sets and maybe more so develop them as well.
Yeah, yeah. One thing you said in there, which I love, and I always scream from the mountaintops on my own, like you talked about the journey, like you're in mining, like that has really not much to do with sewer. But like you even said that you picked up a skill or a skill set and you can apply it to what you're doing today. I said, no matter what path you had, you could have been an attorney, you could have, went to the moon, you could have built cars and whatever. No matter if you're wherever you're at right now, you can use those skills that you picked up along the way to apply it to your current situation. So thanks for touching on that, because I love that aspect about a lot of people don't really hop into this industry. They usually fall into it. But I say, man, you still got skills from wherever you came from. So use those, which is beautiful.
Well, I think you have to sell yourself as well, right? So it's something that I fell into, the mining and the water. And someone liked me. Hey, I like your personality. I like the way you conduct yourself. And it's always led. So you're always selling yourself, whether you realize that or not. Put a smile on your face. What does it hurt, right? So
Yeah, yeah. If you're hiring, like, let's say 20 sales guys, and all the 20 sales guys are like, hey, BJ, if I had 8 hours or let's say 2 hours a day, at the end of every day, 2 hours a day to develop themselves as a sales rep for, this industry or for your company, would you rather them spend the 2 hours on interpersonal skills, like soft skills, or like just, being good with people? Or would you rather them spend 2 hours on technical skills? Like which one is going to move the lever more, like knowing more about the technical side or just being a better human around other humans?
in my humble opinion, it's being a better human. You can teach somebody, you can teach an old dog new tricks, and I'm a prime example of that. So yes, being able to sell yourself, being humble, and being relatable to others is huge. Everything else can fall in place and you can be taught. And everybody can be taught at different speeds. What's taken me 4 years, someone probably would have learned in 3 months, the average person. But yes, being relatable helps tremendously in my mind.
Sure. I'd agree with that also. All right, story time. I need a story from BJ when something went wrong under your watch, what you did to fix it, and then what lessons you learned from it to apply to your future career.
That was a tough question, or this is a tough question. I really don't have an example of that, and I'm not saying that I'm perfect by any stretch of the imagination and things don't go wrong, but I always feel that communication trumps everything. And whether it's the delayed piece of equipment that we have, I'm communicating, and I'm always honest with our clients, whether it's good or bad, and I think they respect that. Of me and of Source Technology as well. But I would say if you want to get really nitpicky, we just wrapped up a project outside of Tampa, Florida. We did some discovery. We were injecting our STX into the headworks, our liquid treatment, and we weren't successful. And we pride ourselves on the discovery. And for whatever reason, we didn't realize there was a 16-inch force main running parallel to the 16-inch force main that we were injected into. We had no idea it was there. So the pressure was building in this 16-inch force main. It's like, something's not right. So we went back and asked more questions, and it's like, oh, yeah, there's another force main. So we ended up injecting into the proper force main, and we had the success that we wanted. So maybe that's something that went wrong where we misstepped, or I misstepped in doing the discovery part. But other than that, when you have your hiccups or something's delayed or whatnot, but again, if you communicate, I think everybody understands, the least reason that I've dealt with anyhow.
Sure. And 4 years you've been at this, so you probably remember going through this through COVID. Can you talk to us what that was like? I guess what the what the normal beat was like. Couldn't get to trade shows, couldn't make too many cold calls. Like, what was COVID like? I guess starting the business, starting the company.
Well, the company started back in 2005, I think it was. So there was a lot of research, a lot of trial and errors, a lot of, how to apply our technologies. So when I came around, the foundation, the hard part, the research was pretty much done at that point. We were just refining
Gotcha.
the applications, how to apply
Sure.
it, what information to gather for all these smart engineers out there. They're data hounds, as you probably know. And during COVID, it kind of maybe a blessing. I hate to say that for me, because everybody still goes to the bathroom. I don't want to say it's recession proof that we're in, but everybody goes, right? So it gave me a lot of opportunities to really kind of not be forced into the sales role per se. I could really go and get my hands dirty, literally. And I had a great colleague down in Florida, Lauren, who tolerated me and was showing me the ropes and talking to wastewater treatment operators and learning and understanding everything. So I've got a lot of people around me that makes me look a hell of a lot better than what I really am. But during the COVID, it was nice just to not have the sales and people calling you, and you could really focus and get an understanding. So when we came out of COVID, I
Yep.
was dangerous, in what I could go out and say, tell people.
No, for real. I remember thinking of that time where again we couldn't make cold calls. Like, nobody wanted to see you. You couldn't get through the back gate, couldn't get through the front door. Um, but it was a time where you could be super introspective and reflective. And you can look at like, hey, maybe I need to lose 15 pounds, or maybe I need to read some books on like communication, or maybe I need to like, I don't know, button up things with my wife and kids, like just stuff that like we
Sure.
get so backlogged and cached with like stuff that we know we need to fix, but we don't because we just got to get that next dollar. We got to hit the next month's quota. We got to, get off the pit plan or whatever. And like that time was like that time where like, oh, let me go and fix the stuff that I know I've needed to fix for years, get that tight. And then, like you said, you become more dangerous entering the field of play,
Sure.
outside of COVID. So yeah, that was a good moment. What does BJ do to keep getting sharper and sharper year after year after year? I mean, you could literally, you've been at this for a good amount of time. The tech has been around. Again, the industry's been around since the first human on the planet. Um, but like there's I can tell there's something in you that keeps wanting to learn, keeps wanting to get better, keeps wanting to sharpen the sword. What is that? And then tactically, what do you do to stay up with the times and keep up with what's going on?
Um, well, certainly conferences, right? Networking. The Arizona conference, Arizona Water Conference here a week or so ago was fantastic. It's always nice to chit chat with people. And every time I come across an engineer, specifically out here in Arizona, that works strictly for water, I'm like, hey, give me the skinny. I'm not going to hold you to this. I'm looking around. It's like, are we really in a water shortage out here? Because I hear about it and see on the news or drinking the Colorado River dry, and I see everything down. And you guys are going to take my golf courses and you're going to shrink them all down, eliminate them, and bulldoze them. But yet, whenever I pull out on Alma School Road, I see Bank of America, all these banks with their fancy water features just blasting water out. And I'm like, what are we doing here? Because I'm getting mixed signals, right? So I guess that's another story for another time, but it's a great opportunity to learn even outside of wastewater. And every time I go to Arizona the last few years, I'm always getting somewhat the same answer from engineers, that deals with water, but it's certainly a great way to see what's out there with wastewater and anything else. Reflect. I really like to try to make time, and I'm sensitive of that, of what I've done for the week, for the month. I do a roadmap. So every 3 months, I kind of tweak that, and it keeps me on focus. I start out in January. It's like, all right, I'm going to bring X amount of sales and opportunities and all this fun stuff. But somewhere along the line, we get lost in the trials and tribulations of life. So every now and then, I have to check myself. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa! I'm getting off the path. Let's get back here. And I set it out. Here's the conferences. Here's where I'm going to be. So fill in the gaps, if you will. So roadmaps are one way that helps me stay focused, as well as staying better. Self-care is something that I've learned. I just had a heart procedure here the end of February. So it was a big reminder of, hey, you need to just relax, chill a little bit, and not work, 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 work. When I wake up in the morning, my mind goes from 0 to 60 in a nanosecond, and it's hard for me to shut it down. I switch time zones a lot from the East Coast to the West Coast. So it doesn't really help my insomnia, but you really, I think we all need to practice more of the self-care. And an example that everybody's important, in their roles, but an example that I read not long ago was Nick Saban, arguably the greatest college football coach ever, right? He retired. Now, and when I say this, I'm not putting myself anywhere near the caliber that Nick Saban is. I just want to throw that out there. It's like, who does BJ think he is comparing himself to Nick Saban? I'm not, other than we're both West Virginia boys. That's the only thing I have in common with Nick Saban, right?
Yeah.
But his replacement was hired 2 days after he retired. So that fast, the greatest college football coach, 2 days later, he's replaced. And I'm pretty sure that Source could replace me, faster than that. It goes, and the moral of the story is it's self-care and what's important, in our lives. And I'm sure it's different for everybody, but those are ways personally and professionally that I try to keep myself on point and constantly learning from others. As any kind of secrets that I can get or shamelessly steal and use myself.
For sure. For sure. Speaking of secrets, I want to know your secrets to conferences, because conferences for me are one thing that like a lot of us have to do, to get the word out, to get, leads in the top of the funnel. What's your best practices? I guess your main why, and then also tactically, what do you do at those conferences to make them fruitful or even a good investment for you?
I have to give it to our marketing director. She does a fantastic job in drawing people to the booth. So this year we had a fantastic reception. We got something off of Amazon. It was a spin wheel. It had 14 pizza slices. We have our merchandise, and it's like, hey, step right up and win. See what take a spin and see what you can win. And there was a lot of people that you couldn't get through the aisle this year. They were spinning, whether it's a keychain, a hat, hand sanitizer, cookies and notepads were free. So when people are drawn to this, it gives me an opportunity to talk to somebody. And I hate when someone tells me or calls me a salesman. I'm not. I'm a problem solver. I'm a solution provider. And I'm not like, hey, this is what our technology does. That's the best. I can solve your problem. I don't know that, right? And I've had a few people here in the Arizona area. It's like, hey, you're different, BJ. I appreciate you not hounding me for a sales call or handling me. I have more questions for them, a client, a municipality, than they probably do for me. And I want to understand what their goals are. And I think taking that we're a solution provider approach throws people off, and they're expecting me to say, oh, I've got a problem. And it's like, well, tell me about your problem. Well, you're not going to tell me you can fix it? I don't know. It's like you go into the doctor's office, right? And the doctor comes in, he's like, all right, drop your pants. I'm going to give you a shot in the butt of penicillin. Well, wait a second, doc, I don't know what's going on here. I just come in for a hangnail. Why are you giving me a shot of penicillin in the butt? So for me to say that I can fix someone's problem, I have no idea. I don't know what's in their wastewater, don't know what their challenges are. And it seems the feedback that I'm getting, it's refreshing. And again, I'm not here to sell somebody anything. I'm given my attention span as probably a 4-year-old, I constantly got to be engaged with different projects and finding a solution and understanding that, and everybody's different, is exciting. And again, it seems to be help us to be successful, help me be successful in taking that approach.
Yeah. Where'd you get that from? Because most salesmen, again, you get into a company or you're selling for yourself. It's you start at 0 every month, or your sales manager's beating you over the head saying more sales, more sales. So where did that come from? Being the problem solver instead of just a salesman?
I probably was hit home maybe 2 corporate jobs ago. And that's when they really imparted it in my mind. And I think I did some of this stuff. I just wasn't smart enough to realize what I was doing. And then someone's like, hey, I want to pay someone tens of thousands of dollars to come in and teach you guys how to sell or be solution providers. I'm like, oh, I kind of asked those questions. I know this, but I didn't really tie it all in. So I've been very blessed to have the career path that I have that hopefully makes me or is making me somewhat successful now.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's talk misconceptions. Let's say I asked your golf buddy. I'm like, what does BJ do all day every day? He does this thing in this wastewater industry. Other than that, he's golfing. So like what value does he provide to society? What would your golf buddy get totally wrong in answering that question?
But he'd probably tell you that I play in poo water, and other than that, he would probably mention rotten egg smell makes it go away, and that's probably the extent of what he knows what I do.
Yeah.
I would say when I sit down with a municipality or somebody, the misconception is they think they know what our technology, what it is. It's an iron-based technology, and we use hydrogen peroxide to regenerate it. So you can use hydrogen peroxide to oxidize by itself, which is commonly used. And there's also iron-based technologies like straight up ferric or couple others out there. Won't mention their names. So whenever I mention that, they're like, "Oh, I know what you do, BJ," and they don't. And what really separates us is this chelant age or a chelant, and it separates us. So once I go through that process, you're like, "Oh." You can see their wheels grinding, then they want to see results. Well, show me that it works. Where's the data? So that's probably the misconception. It's like, oh, I know what you do. I'm like, I don't think you really
Yeah.
do. Let's just take a minute, pump our brakes, and let me explain this to you. And I'm pretty sure you'll have a different opinion once we go through this.
Yeah. What's the one question you wish a prospect would ask you, or somebody who has that problem? What do you wish they would ask you so you can say the answer and it clicks for them right away?
Um, if they're using an iron-based technology, like another technology that's out there that another company uses, if they use that, then I can compare it to that. Other than that, I have to kind of go through the process of explaining it. And the best way that I've boiled it down is I tell people, remember the 4 Rs. It's a regenerative process that restores the chemistry so it can be reused, which significantly reduces cost. So when I'm giving presentations, I gave a couple at the Arizona show here a couple weeks ago. They probably left thinking about the 4 Rs, laying in bed and like thinking, BJ needs 4 Rs, because I repeat that throughout the presentation, right? It's the 4 Rs. So that might be the easiest way to kind of get people to
Okay.
start to understand, because it's totally different. Everybody uses a commodity chemical for the most part for the last 40, 50 years, right? And it's like you got to think outside the box, right? Let me see your phone. Oh, it's a smartphone. It's an Apple phone. Oh, that's technology. You don't have one of those old Blackberries or a flip phone. So why wouldn't you consider using technology,
Yeah.
a new
Yeah.
technology?
Yeah. What would you say is like your avatar customer? Is it like a city with 40,000 people and they got like X amount of miles of pipe and the pipe is this old, it's made out of this? Like, what would you say is the ideal customer? Just kind of, I wouldn't say not pigeonhole yourself, but paint the picture of the person who's normally calling you for your solution to help with their problem.
Well, an ideal client would be someone who thinks outside the box. And I just touched upon that. Everybody's used to what's been out there for the last 30, 40 years, and they want to do that. And it's hard for some people, especially maybe when you get set in your ways and you don't want to do anything different for whatever reason. So thinking outside the box, and typically it's a younger person that gives us an opportunity, because everybody else is like, oh, we're going to do this. It's worked for 40 years. We're just going to continue doing it. But you have odor control problems or corrosion problems. So something's not jiving, right? The math's not adding up. Somebody who would appreciate a partnership, a true partnership in solving and resolving their problems. I just can't come in and wave a magic wand and put our Pookie juice into a force main or a headworks and it goes away. We need to work. And, a lot of people are surprised when we ask for the information. What's your pipe size, diameter, the flows, what's the BOD, COD in the wastewater? There's a lot of due diligence that we do to be successful, to put ourselves in a successful position. So someone who, again, thinks outside the box, that wants a partnership would be ideal. And maybe a client that's got a ridiculously horrible odor and corrosion problem, they've tried everything on the market and I'm their last resort. Maybe you're
Sure.
forced to listen to me because you've tried everything else, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, how I wouldn't say how common is that, but like, are there times where you can tell they come to you and they're like, please, BJ, like have something for us. We tried all these other things and none of these other things works. And like you have that one thing that they've been missing out for the whole time. And you say, I got you.
Absolutely. I think the last project we just finished up for a client down in Tampa, they were having serious odor and corrosion issues at their headworks. You could probably take a pitching wedge and stand on top of the headworks and hit I-75. And it's a 4-lane each way interstate. And, the H2S was driving them bonkers. They were getting complaints. They evaluated other technologies. They ended up going with us. And we restored the public trust with our client down there because we resolved the problem. But they were, I don't want to say desperate, but they wanted the phone calls to go away, the odor complaints to go away, and we certainly did that for them.
Gotcha. Gotcha. How far are you hitting your pitching wedge nowadays?
That's a good question since I'm not allowed to swing a golf club, but I would say maybe 125, 130 yards, something like that.
Okay. Okay.
That's what I was
What
doing.
part of your game what part of your game you wish you could work more on, the driving or the putting?
The driving. I've got a putting green in the backyard, so I'm able to. I'm pretty deadly right there. But the driving, yeah, that's my golf game goes as my driver goes, and I don't understand why my driver just does me dirty because usually I take it out pretty much every weekend. I'm good to it. I clean it, and yet it just it's what's keeping me from being on a senior tour. That and not
Yeah.
being a scratch golfer. Right?
That and the minor detail.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
I I love to draw parallels with sports and in business. I played football in college. I play a lot of basketball now. I've played golf, but it's tough, man. But like golf, you'll go out for maybe a week or 2 weeks and you just won't hit them right. Like you look at your club, you're like, man, like, do I remember how to swing this thing? Like, and there's probably something mentally you have to do, like a place you have to go mentally to get yourself back into your rhythm to, start shooting your normal score again. In business, if you find yourself off, customers aren't, or we're not replying to emails, they're not answering calls, you can't get any follow-up action, that nothing's really dropping in the top of the funnel. Like, what do you do mentally to kind of kickstart, BJ to say, hey, let's get back on the horse, let's start hitting this thing clean again?
That's a great question. There's really never a dull moment in my
That's
role
good.
in terms, but I guess I kind of just go back to everything happens for a reason, and God's going to provide. And there's times, maybe certainly a year or two ago, that I wish we would have got a pilot for a big customer, and it didn't happen. And I was upset looking back. What could I have done different? And looking back, I don't know that we were ready as a company to take on such a large client. So again, it's those, what is it, unanswered prayers or sometimes blessings. So
Amen.
in that sense, it's like, what I've learned as I got, older and dare I say, maybe a little bit wiser, everything happens for a reason, and it's going to happen on God's time and not BJ's time. And that's usually when I get myself anxious or I'm worried, to your point, what's happening. Relax. It's going to happen
Mm,
not on BJ's time. And that's something that I try to be self-conscious about. And it
sure.
seems to help and maybe reset me to your question, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. Live Golf came around was a couple years ago, and they're sucking up a lot of market share. A lot of guys are leaving the tour, PGA to go to live. Where do you see the disruption in our industry, in your particular, I guess, corner of the industry? Is it, is AI coming down the pipeline and to circumvent what you do? Like, where's kind of that looming live concept that might happen in your industry?
I don't I don't know that I have an answer for that. I think I'm so involved with my role of trying to standardize processes, grow this company, and yet look for problem solving opportunities. It's I don't know that. I never really thought about that. That's a great question. I don't know what we do. I think you have to get smarter in how we dose, maybe. So maybe there's a little, I don't want to say AI per se, but technologies and how you apply our technology in terms of dosing or whatnot. So I don't know that there's something like a lift tour that's out there. Again, it's poo water, right? You just got to make this go away. How you going to do it? Somebody's got their pookie juice that they may try to sell you or something, but I don't know that there's AI is going to solve a problem, but maybe
Yeah. Yeah.
could be.
Yeah. Future, let's say 60 years from now, what problems will the person in BJ's seat right now be solving for? I think that golf, it's going to be hard for it to get past the millennial Gen Z generation. There's not too many youngsters playing because a lot of our dads aren't playing. Like, it's a sport that's kind of just out of reach of a lot of people. But I do think there will be golf, but it won't be as huge as it was for, like, I don't know, let's say the boomer Gen X generation. So in the future, where do you see your part of the industry going? Like, will there, is there a problem that you see, like, legislatively or something coming down the pipeline that a person in your seat 50 years from now will have to deal with?
Again, I'm not in the industry long enough to really answer that question. Again, I just see the problem getting maybe a little more challenging, right? You build these wastewater treatment plants out in the middle of nowhere, and the population growth, and the next thing you know, it's next to a home of 500 homes, and people are like, it stinks. Yeah, it's a wastewater treatment plant. Can you get the H2S to go away? Certainly you can. Will they come up with better ways to treat wastewater? I'm sure that they will. Obviously, we're working on taking wastewater and making it drinking water, right? Which unnerves some people. And those are for engineers way smarter than me. I'm aware of it, but I think challenging wise, maybe infrastructure, being smarter with the infrastructure. There was a gentleman that presented after me Tuesday afternoon to Arizona Water Conference, and he was talking about the state of Arizona. So every 4 years, the state of Arizona gets a grade based on their infrastructure, from the corrosion, the infrastructure that's collapsing, odors, all this kind of fun stuff. But it's a C minus was the grade for Arizona. And I'm like, what do we need to do? And he kind of comments like, hey, we just need to use BJ's Pookie Juice and put it in all the wastewaters. That's not realistic. And I don't know. Yeah, I love the plug, right? But there's a lot more to it. How can you design these infrastructures, the pipes, the sewers, right? So whenever you go and the water's not cascading like a waterfall underground. So not wastewater is, waterfalling, it's stripping off the H2S. And there's all kind of ways, I think, to eliminate that and be smarter. So that's more of, I think, one of your engineer guests can answer that better than me, certainly.
Gotcha. All right. I always like to leave a space on the show for you to think mentors you had along your journey. And then also, I want you to give out a word of inspiration and motivation to your industry counterparts.
My mentors, bar none, easy. That's my parents. I tell everybody that I raised my parents well. And clearly that's not the case, right? They had me to work with, and they did the best they could. But my parents are phenomenal. They're just have all the right things and qualities that you'd want in a human being. They love, hardworking, forgiving. They just do the right thing. So my parents have always been a mentor, and I can still hear my mom and dad over my shoulder. It's like, is this right, BJ? You doing the right thing? I don't want to disappoint them. It's almost like they have a TV camera back home and they're watching my move. And if I do something naughty or something shady, it's like, I told you better than this, right? My mom will reach out and touch my lip. So my parents by far is my mentors. Motivation is God, right? He's never going to give us more than what we can handle. Certainly feels like it at the time when we're going through some trials and tribulations, but looking back, he's just smoothing out the rough edges of us. And I think someone would also want to find their why or their purpose, right? What gets you out of bed in the morning? Why does BJ work the hours that he does? Because I want this company to be successful. I want everybody that I work with to be successful. You know, Maybe you do it for your family, your work, you enjoy what you do. So I think finding your why, your purpose in life, everything else will kind of fall in place, and maybe this crazy adventure journey that we have that we call life will make a little sense, and be a little less bumpy maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's say I'm coming to town. You based in Arizona or are you based in West Virginia? Where are you at now?
I am. I pay my bills here in Chandler, Arizona. Um,
Okay.
so I think I know the question, but I'll let you officially
Yeah.
ask it. It's fine.
All right. Let's say I'm coming to town. I'm coming to Chandler. I text you ahead of time and I say, BJ, where can I go to get the best burger in town? Where are you going to send me?
Well, I don't know that. Probably my grill. And my cardiologist would probably kick me in the shin if I had any red meat, since I'm banned to having red meat 2 months or 2 times a month.
Really?
So
Wow.
I'm going to provide you with a little Arizona facts, given that you're here in the wonderful state of Arizona. So some of these you may have heard, some of them's kind of easy. So bear with me. So the first one, home of the sunniest city on earth, Yuma, Arizona. Home of the
Interesting.
only venomous lizard in the United States, the Gila monster. Arizona has the wettest desert in the world, the Sonora Desert. And here's something that's interesting. Cutting down a cactus in Arizona is a class 4 felony. Now, that doesn't mean anything to me, so I had to look and see what a class 4 felony was. It's 1 to 3.5 years in prison. An example of a class 4 felony are kidnapping, perjury, and bribery, and third-degree burglary. So who thought cutting down a cactus, which I heard when I moved here, it's like, hey, don't do it. It's bad news if you cut a cactus down. Yeah, it's a class 4 felony. So bad stuff. So
Yeah.
don't, all the viewers, listeners out there, don't cut a cactus down in Arizona. Arizona is more desert and mountains. It's 27% forest. Who knew? I did not.
Wow.
I just thought Arizona was a desert. There's golf courses, and it blew my mind when I went to Sedona, Flagstaff for the first time. I'm like, where am I? I don't
Yeah.
understand. There's pine trees,
Yeah.
right? It's cooler up here. You can ski. So it shows you what I know. Phoenix is the hottest city in the United States. Kind of a no-brainer,
Yeah.
maybe. Arizona became a state on Valentine's Day in 1912. And here's my favorite. The London Bridge was dismantled and moved to Arizona, right? The London Bridge is falling down from the nursery rhyme. That was brought here in 1971 by a real estate developer. He bought it and had it here. It was reconstructed in 1971 in Lake Havasu, and it's still there.
Wow.
And it's on my bucket list this year to go see the London Bridge that, as a small child, I would hear about. So there's your
Yeah.
facts for Arizona that may be useful, maybe not. So if you're at a cocktail party or holiday year, there's some tidbits of information that might make you sound interesting.
No, that's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. I didn't know kidnapping is just as bad as cutting down a cactus. Jeez.
My
Yeah.
neighbor has one right now that looks like it's going to fall. Like over half of it, all the green cacti parts gone, and it's got a slight,
Oh,
and it's been this way for a year. And I'm like, why don't they just cut that down? It looks horrible. And now it's like, no, don't do it. That's a class 4.
yeah.
Yeah, now I understand. You're just going to let that bad boy go on his own. So
Yeah. Yeah.
go
So if we don't hear from BJ in 3 years, we know what he did to his neighbor's
yeah,
cactus.
exactly.
All right, BJ. Thanks for hopping on the podcast. Thanks for sharing your wealth and wisdom with us. Any links you wanted to shout out? Any places where we can find more about what you got going on? Anything more with Source Technologies wanted to shout out?
Yeah, just find me on LinkedIn, BJ Statler. You can kind of see what we're up to, and what I'm doing. So that's the best way. And please reach out to me and see if I'm a fit to help you solve your odor and corrosion challenges.
Sweet. Good stuff. Well, BJ, once again, thanks for hopping on the podcast. This has been great. To all the listeners out there, make sure you share this with somebody who you think needs to hear. If they got an H2S problem, reach out to BJ. Other than that, this has been the Public Works Podcast, and thank you, everybody, for tuning in.